Yes, people, what's good? So this is going to be the first YouTube video that I'm putting out there. Going to be doing trade recaps every week. I'm now working towards actually building some content for everyone who's messaged me over the last couple of years, just asking me basically how I trade and whatnot. This is the only trade that I took this week. It was on GJ. Reason being, I weren't feeling too great at the start of the week, so I didn't bother trading. But this is the power of how I trade and trade in multiple assets. You can literally find a trade pretty much every day on a higher time frame with a relatively high degree of certainty and probabilities playing out. So this is a trade on GJ. I'm going to start on the higher time frame first as always. Everything starts for me on either the weekly or the daily. So this is a daily chart on Gbpjpy. So just going through some logic to start with, and for anyone who doesn't understand what I'm speaking about right now, all the bits and pieces that I'm going to be going through in the trade recaps, I'm going to make a full series from A to Z of exactly how I trade, what to look for, the logic, the reasoning behind it, and all that sort of stuff. So basically, starting off on a daily time frame, you can see we've been bullish from more or less down here. Obviously, it's a little bit choppy, we're a little bit range bound here, but from here you can see we've started to break out with fair value gaps in here, mitigating those gaps and pushing higher. And so when we take out a higher time frame level of liquidity like this, we can expect that price might want to be a deeper retracement back into the range, which is my idea behind it. So on Thursday we had this candle 2 closure in here where it failed to close above the previous day's high, suggesting that there's a possibility that from here on the next day we could trade lower. So we've taken out a higher time frame key level, we've had a reversal candle print in here, and we've got reason for lower prices. So there's only 2 reasons that price moves: to fill imbalances like this here, or take old highs and lows. That's the only reason that price moves, moving off liquidity all the time. So in terms of the sort of logic and reasoning behind that, we've got price taking a high, we've had a reversal candle put in here, so we're expecting that there's a potential chance that the market can move to the downside, and we've got this as our reason for heading lower. So that's the work on the higher time frame done from a logic standpoint. Now, one of the biggest changes in my trading came when I started using SMT and cracks and correlation, which basically means correlated assets, so USD JPY, GBP JPY, AUD JPY, they should all create relatively similar highs and lows because they're correlated. So when we have candles that print different to the correlated assets, that is also another hint at reversal. So for example, you can see here, this Wednesday candle was taken by Thursday's candle. If we go to USD JPY, Wednesday's candle was not taken by Thursday's candle. So that's a first stage cracking correlation there. The second stage cracking correlation to confirm the reversal is that this candle here closes bearish. This is known as a PSP, whereas on GBP JPY we close bullish. So we've now got 2 cracks in correlation suggesting that price can head lower from here, and we've obviously taken this liquidity here. So next thing I'm going to do, once my work's done on a daily time frame and I've got the daily framework there, and by the way, I'll only ever consider taking a trade when the daily time frame is clear. If the daily time frame for me is not clear, then it's not high probability and it's not worth looking at. Everything derives from a daily time frame downwards. So then we've got that there, 2-stage cracking correlation at a key level. We've got reason for lower prices. The next thing I'm going to do is jump down to the 4-hour and see what's going on here. So on the 4-hour time frame, we've had a 2-stage S&T. We've then expanded away, creating this gap. Now usually I would want to get in before the previous day lows taken, and the reason being, when we start to take out 1-hour liquidity or higher, you can sometimes get reversal. And when it comes to trading forex pairs, sometimes they're more well renowned for being range bound. So this could just take this low and then fall back into the range again, and obviously you don't want to be stuck in this type of price action because you don't know what's going to happen next, basically. So yeah, that's the reasoning behind that. So in terms of the willingness to actually trade this, because we've displaced away and we've created a 4-hour gap and we've not yet actually taken any sort of liquidity, we've inverted this gap here as well. So the next logical place for price to go, if price isn't going to reverse from an internal fair value gap like this, which you can see we've come down, we've tested it once, we've pushed away, we've come down again, and we've actually broke that. This to me now suggests that this is the next logical place to go because you've got equal lows there, which is another form of engineered liquidity. So from that standpoint, that gives me higher confidence that, okay, we can actually trade this continuation from this gap down into these equal lows, and this is obviously still left unmitigated. So that was the reason I was willing to trade that. Like I said, usually if I'm entering, I want to get in before 1 hour liquidity is taken, before the previous day's low is taken, because on Forex pairs it can be very range bound. So there's my framework there. So I've gone from a daily, I've gone to the 4 hour. We've then got this gap here, like that. And usually you want to use session profiles. So for me, I'm only interested in taking a trade once we've had a sweep of liquidity, because that's what fuels that next move to the next objective. So for me, that'll be London taking out Asia, which obviously you can see didn't happen here because Asia was quite bearish, or New York sweeping London and or Asia. So if I go down to the 15-minute time frame now, you can see we're in this 4 hour gap here. London didn't really do too much, created some sort of equal highs here, just below this 4 hour key level. And then you can see on here, we've traded above London, which is just here. We've traded above London there into this 4 hour fair value gap, and then we've had an SMT with USD JPY. So yeah, again, using SMT on all time frames to confirm reversals. It's the best way to confirm reversals and get them with a high degree of accuracy. So you can see this didn't take the high, whereas USD JPY did. Now this is also a form of strength switch, and we're getting into some technical stuff here, but it's just something to learn. So this takes the high, so this should be the strongest asset. This should be the strongest asset in terms of bullishness because it took the high and GBP JPY didn't. However, USD JPY is the first one to invert a fair value gap. So this is a strength switch, which adds more probabilities to the shorts and the SMT playing out. Anyway, the framework was on GBP JPY, so that's the one that we wanted to trade. We're just using the other assets to confirm SMT and reversals. So you can see at this point here, once I started to see this fall down, AUD JPY had inverted, USD JPY had inverted this fair value gap here as well. And so at this point, after seeing this candle start to print, I was happy to then basically take a short position here. So again, I got in just before this candle actually closed. Obviously this is still running at the minute, but I'm very, very confident this is going to hit, especially with how this is pulling back. It's just leaving low resistance liquidity there for that to be taken out. So yeah, this is a 1 to 3. I have a fixed 1 to 3, and reason being for that is just the maths behind it makes it easier. You can literally be the worst trader in the world with a 30% win rate, and over 10 trades on average you'll still make 2% profit. I've got about a 50% strike rate, but it just makes it a bit easier on making money. So yeah, that's basically it. So just to recap, obviously I'm still in this position. I've got break even at this low, but just to recap, we've had a 2-stage SMT, which is this candle gets taken by Thursday's candle, whereas on USD JPY it doesn't. And then this Thursday daily close closes bearish, whereas on GBP JPY we close bullish. So you've got a 2-stage Kraken correlation at an old high with a reason to go lower. So that's the framework on a daily time frame done. We then drop down to the 4 hour, and we see that we've expanded quite heavily during Asia. So we're waiting for London to basically play out, because it's very unlikely that London's going to take Asia. So that means the next port of call is basically to wait for New York to sweep either London and or Asia. Coming to this 4 hour fair value gap, we sweep London high in New York. We get an SMT like that, followed by an inversion. That's our entry signal to go short. We get in short, stops at the high, and then we basically just let the market do what it wants to do. once you've done your framework, you've done your analysis, you've seen everything that you want to see, once you've clicked that button, you have absolutely no idea what's going to happen next. Because there's so many different scenarios that could play out. Us retail traders, people with small money, you know, we don't control the market. It's the banks, the hedge funds, the institutions, the algorithms. They're the things that are controlling the market behind the doors, and we don't obviously know what they're doing. So all we can do is have a data-backed edge, like I do, see what you want to see, check each thing off as you see it play out, and once you've seen everything play out that you want to see play out, you execute, and you don't care what happens next. That's it. So yeah, that's a trade recap. It's going to be the first of many, and there's going to be a lot more education come to the YouTube soon. So any questions, obviously feel free to DM me. My handle for all socials, Instagram, and obviously YouTube as well, is Kurt_trades. So if you want to reach out, if you've got any questions, obviously more than happy to help. Just give me a shout. Alright guys, peace and love, gang.